Hey, Dan Olsen here. Today we're going to talk about 5 very important questions that you need to know before you acquire any type of franchise and even a business. So be sure you stay to the end of this video. I'm going to give you an advantage on how you do that. Okay, so we're going to review the 5 critical questions that you need to ask yourself and investigate before you consider acquiring a franchise. Franchise is a very, very important decision, and there's been many people who have made poor decisions because they have not asked these questions. And they've gotten themselves into a financial situation that's not good for their family. And that's not what we want for you. We want to make sure that you and your family are happy with your franchising decision. So let's get into these 5 questions that you need to look at before you acquire a franchise. Before we talk about the 5 critical questions about acquiring a franchise, let's talk about what a franchise is. And of course, a franchise is a business. It's a way of doing business. In fact, it's so successful that it has almost a 90% success rate if you get into the right franchise. And we're going to talk about that in those 5 questions. So first of all, franchise is something that has a brand name, somebody that's trademarked a name that's out there and that you'll start seeing all over the country, and some of them you've seen all over the country. It's also got a system that you follow, a step-by-step system that's proven. And thirdly, there's support, there's mentors, there's people that can help you to succeed if you allow them to do that for you. That's what a franchise is. One of the things we highly recommend to everyone who acquires a franchise is to speak to a franchisee of that system and get an idea how it's working for them. In fact, it might be good to talk to several owners. So let's talk about some of the questions that you can ask them. Okay, the first question we want to ask these franchisees is, how long have they been in the business? And that gives us an idea of what they've gone through, because they will then, with that one question, they will offer some of the things that have been maybe a little more challenging for them, but also offer some of the things that have been good for them during that period of time that they've been in business. And of course, the longer they've been in the business, that's the better franchisee that you speak with. It's important to know how familiar the business owner is with the franchise. Besides knowing the ins and outs of the company, the longer they've owned the franchise, the better chance you'll have in staying in business. So that longevity is important for you to be able to see how long they've been in the business, how satisfied they are with the business, and what it's done for them in building that legacy that a lot of franchisees are looking to build. Okay, the second question is, what made you choose this franchise? There's thousands of different franchise opportunities out there. So to fine-tune your choice and to pick this one, there's usually a background that they've gone through, there's an investigation they've gone through, that due diligence, and the legal documentation. So to rely on some of the questions and some of the things that this franchisee can tell you is so valuable in making up your decision. Chances are the business owner considered other franchises before settling in on this one, just like you're doing. In addition, they probably are familiar with how the competition operates. And so one of the things we also invite people to do is Google the competition in the area that's similar to the franchise that they're choosing. And that helps you make the decision even better on this particular franchise, because you've considered the competition that's out there, you've looked at other possible locations where this can happen, and it helps you fine-tune your decision. Question number 3 is, how easy is it to find, train, and retain those employees? In fact, in the economy today, it's difficult to hang on to a lot of those employees. And so that's a question you want to dive into. Look at their wage scales. Are they above? Are they below the industry standards? You want to look at how the training has helped them. You want to look at recognition programs and other things internally into that franchise that they figured all that out so they can pass that on to you to make it much easier for you to keep these wonderful employees working to build your business. This question is essential to understand that nitty-gritty and the ins and outs of operating the business. You want to know how much work it's going to take to keep the business running and how much you'll need to do on the front end to start everything up. In fact, some of the training, it could be even more difficult than you imagine. So you want to look at what the pre-training looks like. How much time, how much effort does it take to train the employees, even in the beginning, before you open up the door? That could add up to a lot of expense there. So keep that in mind as well with the pre-training, and of course hanging on to those employees. And it really depends on you as the franchisee and the manager that you hire to run your franchise for you on how well you can hang on to those employees, following the system and the guidelines of the franchisor, the wonderful company that you choose to join. Okay, question number 4 is, how would you rate the marketing programs for the business? Of course, we all know without sales, we have no business. And of course, the marketing leads into the sales and how well we treat the customer inside the door to help move that business along and increase the revenues. But the marketing systems are essential to understand. So you need to ask, what coupons are they using? What types of digital marketing are they using? Are they using direct mail? Are they using just the different ways of messaging the unique selling proposition that the franchise should already have in place before you jump into it? So in business, marketing is everything. Special deals, the coupons, and good advertising are all essential to keep customers interested. It's important to know what kind of marketing programs the franchise will provide. And those essential marketing programs also lead into the sales. So there has to be a sales system, sometimes even scripting. So you want to review the scripts. You want to review all the different marketing systems before you acquire a franchise so that you can feel comfortable in knowing that, hey, I can do this. Because one of the main functions that you'll have as a franchisee is to coordinate all the marketing efforts. So you've got to feel comfortable with that type of marketing. In fact, there's one company that I work with. What they were doing for marketing is they were just knocking on doors. And a lot of people weren't feeling comfortable with that. So if you don't feel comfortable with knocking on residential doors, you want to stay away from that franchise. But if there's good locations that attracting a lot of traffic and bringing traffic in, that's a lot of times the good marketing that you want to look at. Other times you have to go out and bring those customers in through the marketing excellence that that company provides. Let me share with you an example of what I'm talking about with the marketing. Marketing drives all the sales, as we've mentioned. In fact, that's what brings the cash register ringing and ringing and ringing. And those ACH transfers appearing every morning on your email. And you see this row after row after row of that money coming in the door. It's so exciting. But marketing is what brings that. In fact, my own son-in-law came to me last year and he says, hey, I'm looking at acquiring a franchise. I got some questions for you. And so we went through all the normal questions. We looked at the location. We looked at the franchisor. We went through some of the 5 questions we're talking about here. But then I hit him with the most important one. What are they doing for marketing? And he looked at me and thought, I don't know. I said, that's probably the most important question you can ask, is what's bringing in those customers to bring that cash register? Ask the question, look at the specific systems, look at not only the systems, but look at the results. So if they're spending $500 on direct mail or $500 on digital marketing, is it bringing back $550, $600, $1,000, $2,000 in return? Those are the kind of returns you need to look at in marketing. And those franchise companies should have that documentation for you to look at. Okay, we're here at the last question. Number 5, are you satisfied with the number of clients or customers or patients or whatever you're serving in your business? And of course, that's the critical piece because these are the people who are paying. Now, when you look at the business and you break it down, there's 2 critical elements in analyzing the numbers of a franchise, because a lot of times the franchisees, they don't want to give you their numbers. That's private to them, and that's okay. And if you become a franchisee, you may not want to give out your specific revenue numbers either. And sometimes that is the case. So you want to respect that when you ask that question. But the way to get around that is kind of in the back door, is the way that I like to do it, and you can analyze it just as well or even better, is you look at the number of clients they're serving on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, on a monthly basis. Then you take that number and multiply it by the average transaction number. So for example, let's take a food concept. Let's say the average ticket price is $15. Somebody comes in, they buy a drink, and they buy a hamburger, they buy whatever it is, a couple things, fries, and it's $15. So, and how many customers do they have during the week or the day? Let's say they have 1,000 coming in. So you multiply the 1,000 by the 15, that's $15,000. So if that's per day, you know there's $15,000 a day coming in that business. You can track it. In fact, you can actually sit in front of the business and you can count the number of customers going in for an hour or so during lunchtime or during a time when it might be even less busy. You can actually verify that number. And so that's the way we like to look at numbers for the business, and it doesn't infringe on the rights of the franchisees, and it gives us the information we need about the revenue figures for the business. So arguably the most important question, figure out what your profits margins might look like by analyzing how many customers they get. If the franchise is profitable, it may be worth getting into for you as well. So you're looking at profit now instead of revenue. We have to analyze the revenue, but the profit is analyzed, of course, by looking at the costs. And if it's a food business, for example, we're going to look at what is your average food cost. And so you'll ask the franchisee, what is the percentage of your food cost? They can give that to you all day long, and that's not infringing on a lot of their privacy. So they might say, well, it's X percent. Then you want to ask, what's your labor cost? And what's the percentage you're paying for your rent or your lease on your building? And so by the time you get through looking at some of those major costs, and then you can fill in the blanks on some of the other small things that an expert can show you. You need an expert to help you with some of these other small little items to make sure you don't miss those. But the franchisees can give you those bigger costs and percentages. Then once you've figured out your revenue, as we've already talked about, it's easy to multiply those percentages by that revenue to get you to that profit number. And then that gives you that initial analysis to start with that an expert then can help take you the rest of the way. Okay, so there's been two major analyses that we look at from franchisees making that decision. They'll either buy it on emotion or they'll buy it from the analytics. And usually it's a combination of both. But if you don't do the analytics, then you can be sunk. You got to understand the numbers. In fact, when you get into business, it's all about numbers. You buy a business because you want to make money, right? So you need to analyze those numbers. So I've had people, in fact, I remember a lady that came in the door. She was looking at a hair salon. She was a hairstylist. And so she walked in the door of this beautiful hair salon, and she wasn't quite sure she wanted to buy the franchise, but as soon as she walked in, she says, "Oh, this is beautiful, I want to buy this." She bought it, but she didn't look at the numbers, and guess what? She failed. We don't want that. You need to be able to take a look at the logical numbers, and usually it's an expert that can kind of help you, take you through those to understand different positionings and returns on investment, which is going to fit what you're looking for before you acquire your franchise. So, if you have any interest in acquiring a franchise and building something very special financially for your family, let us help you. Reach out to a member of our team. Click the link below, and we're happy to get on a free consultation with you to see what would work with you best and work through this entire process with you to make sure that it's the right fit for you. So click below. We look forward to speaking with you, and thank you so much. I'm so excited that you're able to join us today. Thank you so very much. I hope you've received the benefit from this that we've tried to put into this. Subscribe below and also ring the bell so that you can receive those important notifications that are still coming. And oh, by the way, check the next video out. There's some great stuff there that you'll want to see on this path to helping you to acquire a business of your own.